Welkom, dames en heren, bij AGORA aflevering 25. Mijn naam is Niesco Dubbelboer en AGORA is het programma wat zich laat inspireren door de Griekse democratie, directe democratie, waar iedereen met iedereen kon praten op het plein, de AGORA. Vandaag heb ik een bijzondere gast, namelijk Lisa Kroon. Ze komt uit Los Angeles en is daar een beroemde designer. En zij kwam voorbij in Amsterdam en ik heb haar min of meer van de straat geplukt en we gaan zo met haar praten. Maar eerst heb ik eigenlijk een soort voor zendtijd voor Turkse restaurants. Ik was vorige week eten in een Turks restaurant en ik heb die mensen moeten bezweren dat ik aandacht aan hun nobele zaak zou besteden. En de nobele zaak is dan ook letterlijk de nobele zaak. En ik heb het in dichtvorm gedaan, want zoals u weet moet ik altijd beginnen met een gedicht. Daar gaat hij. Het heet Zendtijd voor een Turks restaurant. Hebt u ongelofelijke trek in een heerlijke Turkse prak? Ga dan naar Turks restaurant Basak. Lekker eten en lekker mals, daar achter in de pijp, de mooie straat Frans Hals. Lekker eten, oh zo fijn. Nee, dames en heren, eerlijk waar, in restaurant Basak, daar moet u zijn. Nou, ik hoop dat dit enigszins aan de verwachtingen voldoet. Mijn gast, Lisa Kroon. Dit hele gesprek zal verder in het Engels gaan, maar ik vertrouw op uw grote intelligentie dat u dat allemaal kunt volgen. That was all Dutch. Did you understand anything of what I said? Was it anything?
No, I didn't even try. I was just listening to the sounds as abstract sounds.
And how does it sound? Because a lot of people say Dutch sounds awful.
It sounds like you're really getting to the bottom of the universe. Everything you say in Dutch.
Yeah. So, but does it
visceral,
hurt?
Profound, like just totally stripped down.
Does it hurt on your ears?
No. It sounds effective.
Uh-huh.
It sounds like it must be really, a lot of content.
Yeah? But is it also the way I look at it or not? Look with it? The way I talk and the way I look with it?
You seem kind of intense and committed and defiant.
Okay. Didn't you even hear your own name? I said your name already. So that's what you heard. I gave an introduction. I said that I just picked you off the street, which is not completely true. And that you're from Los Angeles. That is true. But we know each other from almost 10 years ago, and we met in New York.
And I heard something about restaurants.
That's what you heard now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but now I'm not talking about the introduction anymore. I'm not talking about how we met 10 years ago. You were then at that time very successful, as you are still now. But at that time you just won a big prize as a very young designer. What prize was that?
It was called the Forma Finlandia. I think if it was the same one you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was a Finnish petrochemicals company called Neste sponsored this big competition where like the grand prize was this really big sum of money, and it was a blind competition where I sent in my work with a number, and it had this panel of design barons from the world who juried it.
What did you send in?
It was a phone answering machine and phone together, which was at the time in 1986 when I designed it. It was something that was kind of changing everyone's lifestyles, because all of a sudden you could live differently as a result of a product. And I've always loved doing products that impact people's lifestyles that intensely, permit them to live differently.
When did you decide to become a designer? Why was it actually? Because your family actually is your father is a professor, medical professor. Your mother is an editor. Your sister is art historian, but they're all in books, to say it like that, books and people, and you went into the designing. Why?
I was almost going to be in books. I was on my way to a career as an art historian, and I actually had a summer job interning at a gallery in New York on 57th Street, and I remember being really kind of frustrated with, cataloging and spending my life involved in sort of these peripheral things to somebody else's art career or many other people's art careers. And I remember visiting my friend, this filmmaker friend of mine in Los Angeles, and having a tantrum where I said, I just can't do this. I just don't think I can be an art historian. And he said, well, what do you want to do?
But you already started with becoming an art historian?
I was going to be an art historian. And
so you were also
I was about to go into a master's program.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
At college.
Yeah.
And he said, well, what do you want to do? And it was just one of these moments of like complete like shedding of everything I thought I wanted. And I said, I want to make toasters.
Toasters?
Yeah.
Toasters? Bread toasters. So, but how did it happen? You were having a big meditation. This friend was guiding you and saying, "What do you want?"
Well, it was more like.
And why toasters?
I was just sort of going crazy with frustration about the internship, and I didn't think that any more high-powered job within that field was going to make me any happier than the internship. And I realized that I was in the wrong field, and I needed to be making the art instead of what I was doing with the art.
Yeah, I was studying the art.
Cataloging it.
Yeah. It is a question, actually. We will look at some of your designs, but it is a question that is always between the functionality of things and the artistic side of things. On that scale of art versus function, where are you? Where do you
That's
stand?
a really good question. I think...
Thank you.
All industrial designers have to tend to function. You know, we need to solve the problem, make it work, make it safe, make it economic, make it treat the environment with respect. All that kind of goes without saying. But if it isn't all those things, then it isn't design. But if it isn't, you know, beautiful and poetic and interesting and provocative, then to me it isn't art. And if it isn't both, then I hope that, you know, I can continue to work on it.
Yeah, but so you can't say it's more art or it's more...
What would I do?
Yeah.
I think I'm more in design, probably. Like I'm aiming more to do something functional than to do something solely significant. Oh. Actually, I kind of look at it differently than art and function. Yeah. And look at it more like prosthesis and icon. Yeah. Like something that extends... Like there are two layers of everything. One of them is the layer of it that extends you, makes you have abilities that you wouldn't have without this thing, whatever it is. That aspect of it is transparent in its use. And the other aspect of everything is the part of it that's there to signify. And so the first part I'm calling prosthesis, because it's from the Greek word which means replacement or addition. And I like the addition definition of prosthesis. And I know you're into this sort of Greek theme in this show. Yeah, well, yes, I am. And then the other thing is icon, which is my word for the part of anything that signifies, that carries the sign, that is there for meaning purposes only. It has nothing to do with function. I don't think I really understand it. So that you say there's, if I translate it in my own words, then you say, if you look at an object or a thing that you designed, there's the image, there's what you want it to be, that is the replacement thing, or not? No. And then the icon... The part of anything that extends you, the user, like your glasses, permit you to correct the, let's just call it imperfection of your lens in your eye, and therefore they're like a replacement or an addition to your flawed lens. Yeah. But okay, so in that sense, they're prosthesis. Yeah. But insofar as they're in interesting shape, they look really nice, they work with your face, they represent a certain kind of person who's educated, who is refined, and that's a whole icon. That's icon. Ah, okay. And, And that's why it's difficult to say that if you're more artist or not, because it's not an artistic process. Thinking about that, or is it? I don't really. I mean, art is such a problematical word that I kind of stay away from it. So, I understand. I tend to think that what I do, I want to make into a prosthesis as well as an icon. I want to layer those two things. I want full saturation of both in everything I do. Okay, that's my aim. Okay, and sometimes there's more of one or more of the other. Like the cockpit of a fighter jet should be more prosthetic. Okay. The devotional objects on a shrine could be more iconic.
Okay.
You know, so appropriateness to the application.
But those two
dictates.
concepts you always have in your mind when you're working on something. You
Well,
always
I'm
think
trying
how
to-
the
I mean,
shift should be between those two.
I started out with that as a kind of analytical device, which I
Mhm.
used to like figure out what I had done in the past.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to use it as a generative tool.
Okay. Okay.
So, okay, when I'm starting, it's like, okay, I know I want this to be a prosthesis. And so in these ways, it'll be a prosthesis. And I want it also to be an icon. And so in this way, it'll be an icon.
Okay. I will keep it in mind when we look at some of your things. First, I want to ask you, you've lived in New York for a long time. You were born in New York. You lived there until, what, 30 years old? 28,
I actually lived in New York until I went to college.
Mhm.
So I was 17 when I left.
Where did you go to then
I went to-
already?
I went to Brown in Providence,
know.
Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And I spent 4 years there. And then I came back to New York for 1 year and
Oh, okay.
kind of worked as a journalist.
Mhm.
And I knew I wanted to be a designer by then. And my way to meet all my heroes was to write an article about them.
Yeah?
And get to go,
Who were your heroes?
go meet them and talk to them and ask them questions.
Who
and-
were your heroes?
Well, pretty much all the industrial designers that were already established
Yeah.
and, you know, doing projects. Because I was so enamored of design and I was so pretty much uncritical of it. Just anything that was like a mass-produced thing to me is a very impressive
Mhm.
piece of work. Because no matter what you think about it, it takes a lot of work and a lot of knowledge and a lot of skill to get something to the point that it's mass producible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everybody that had kind of crossed that boundary,
Was a hero.
Yeah.
But is that still the case? Is it, do you
Well,
still look
to a
up?
certain extent, I do look up to people who have gotten things produced and who
Yeah,
have done the homework and
Yeah.
done the work. But I think that there are a lot of things that are produced that, you know, aren't the most profound objects in the world.
Mhm. But do you have a scope on all of the world? I mean, in the 80s, the Italian designers, the Ettore Sozzas, etc., were very important. How do you look at it now? Or was it the Americans, industrial designers, you were looking up?
I had certain heroes. I got to go work for one of them, which is Mario Bellini, who was working in Milan,
Yeah.
and he was the head of design at Olivetti for a long time.
Uh-huh.
And he was responsible for the wedge shape in office machines, like typewriters.
Yeah.
Because remember, they looked like sort of like a cash register
Mhm.
before that, and then
Yeah.
he made that lectern shape. And,
Okay.
and he was using the metaphor of the lectern, like he was consciously aware that he was referring to something else in history
Mhm.
with the shape of the typewriter. And what was so interesting to me about that was that it was narrative, it was referential,
Yeah.
it was metaphorical.
Mhm.
And, you know, he also did some really great, he did the Diva Summa calculator, which is this bright orange, sexy calculator with a kind of a membranous surface where
Yeah.
it has like a sort of soft rubber
Very
membrane over the
tactile,
keys.
attractive thing.
And then he also had these kind of scalloped compartments for the batteries. So the thing expressed itself. It expressed where the batteries go. And
Did you learn that from him, or did you go to him because you already had the same ideas about things?
well, the department where I went to grad school at Cranbrook was
Yeah.
a lot of people were experimenting with metaphors.
Oh.
And it had, like the whole category had this term that defined it, which was product semantics. And, you know, it's kind of made its rounds.
It was called product semantics.
Product semantics. And the idea behind that is that rather than just being a black box mystery thing whose styling is arbitrary,
Mhm.
that in fact the shape of the product and the detailing of it tells some kind of story that
Yeah.
relates to the product's context or its role in your life or its history, or it makes a metaphor about how the product operates for you.
Yeah, but it seems like a long distance from the whole the whole functionalism in design. Is it true? I mean,
Well, it's kind of
if,
like
if you say
another-
about narrative, you know that you liked about this guy Bellini, the narrative aspects, then it's a long way. That's a long away from the functionalism, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Well,
or-
it's I think it's a refinement, because functionalism means that the thing works.
yeah.
And okay, the thing should work.
And also that you don't put anything more to it than the function.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but everything carries meaning, and so there's no such thing as neutral design. There's no such thing as something that doesn't mean something. So rather than only attending to the function of it, which is very important, you are also in a way, like, you're also assigning the signs. You're curating that, you're orchestrating that, you're choreographing that. And if you don't choreograph it, it's happening anyway, so you may as well.
There is, at least in Holland, and I think also in America, it's always been this combination of philosophy, industrial design, and craftsmanship. Is that the same in America?
I don't think that we're as refined in America as you are. First of all, you guys, modernism was born in Europe. Somehow out of the wreckage of World War I, there was a sense of, new embracing of the machine-made aesthetic. And, notwithstanding the fact that the factory was like a grim Dickensian environment in Britain, I think the rest of Europe really valorized the factory-made thing. And Le Corbusier wrote this book called Toward a New Architecture, and Walter Gropius wrote the Bauhaus Manifesto,
but then went quite soon to America, of course.
But a lot of people in Europe were the sort of initiators of this idea of minimalism and, like, in a way, obliterating the whole, like, Beaux-Arts tradition, which was like ornamenting things. And Adolf Loos gave a famous talk in which he said that ornament was crime.
Yeah,
and
right.
It was the result of, an inferior mind.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, Europe, you guys were the pioneers of minimalist product design and architecture too.
So, but when I talk about minimalist, again, if we look at your work, it's not minimalistic. So maybe I'm mistaking minimal work with functional work. Because
I think that the Americans, like me, for example, I really admire I'm a modernist. Like my taste is, I love the minimal stuff. I love the European modernist work, and I'm a big fan. And I think my work is very, I couldn't do my work without that work of which we just spoke. But if I'm trying to do anything else besides just, imitate that or go in that tradition.
Let's have a look at some of your work. Always when I say something like this, let's have a look at your work, then it's always thinks of this Telcel programs on television. Let's have a look at your work. Do you know those programs? Telcel? You know the program or not?
Telcel?
It's an American program. We get it here on commercial television.
I haven't watched it.
And then they try to sell you. They try to sell the abdominalizer. I remember, for instance, so that you don't get a belly. Tybo is also being marketeerd through that.
I've seen infomercials.
Okay.
I don't know.
Wat we proberen te doen, lieve mensen, is straks, als het enigszins kan, dat jullie ook die foto's te zien krijgen die wij nu krijgen. Dat zijn foto's van haar ontwerpen. You have been just done a tour through Denmark, lecturing, because you're quite famous in Europe, aren't you? Lisa Krohn, ladies and gentlemen.
I seem to get opportunities to go and speak to designers. Yes. That's for sure. I don't think the rest of the world knows who I am.
Well, so I don't think so, because why do they invite you? You've been in Japan, haven't you?
No, not yet. Actually, that's one place I've always wanted to go.
I don't remember that you were in Japanese magazines.
Yeah, I've certainly been in Japanese magazines, but that plane tickets haven't arrived yet.
Okay, well, maybe next time.
It's warming up. I'm sorry.
It is warming up. Oh, well, it's a laptop. It doesn't matter.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, there we are. That's one of the first things you designed. But so let's not look at all. There's one specific one.
This is the Divasuma calculator.
Okay, but okay, but
do you want to go to my stuff?
Yeah, I want to go to your stuff a little bit further. Especially the one that you say that you're so fond of modernism. And then I think, well, if you are, how can you design something like that? And then I'm talking about it's further. We're getting close. A little bit further.
Okay, why don't you tell a story while I'm... Okay, here we go.
This is a nice one, Krohn design. Yeah, that was the prize-winning one. We'll see it later. No, further. It is beautiful.
All right, well, these are the ones that are more like modernism.
That's true. But I don't want to see that one. Here we are.
You want to see this one,
This
right?
one, right.
Cyberdesk.
This one. Keep it like this. We laten het zo zien, dames en heren. This is, I think, is very amazing because it is a virtual mask that people can see, but without the whole big thing in front of your face. Explain to me, where is the influence of modernism in this thing?
Well,
or maybe not the influence, but the fascination. How can I see the fascination?
As this was it's a piece of information technology, which is meant to be as efficiently and streamlined and close enough to your body that it's quite easy to use and quite natural and quite organic in its interface with you.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it's a prosthesis, and that's the part of it that looks like an implant.
Yeah.
Like a subcutaneous thing, like corrective lenses, like a pacemaker, like an IUD, like any one of the things, like filling in your teeth. But on the other hand, since it's something that you actually see when you're wearing it around, I meant it to be an ornament. And I was looking a lot at Lalique.
Okay.
And
Lalique?
Lalique, he's a French goldsmith. And I think he was doing work in the, late 19th century, early turn of the century, kind of Art Nouveau. So it's not really modernist, but I guess Art Nouveau is one of the harbingers of modernism.
Okay. And the funny thing is that you make it very organic, huh? That it looks like it's skin, even if you... is that the next image, I think? That you can see the... yeah.
Well, there's another one.
Well, that you almost seen that like blood veins through it. Yeah, that one. Yes, it's almost scary to wear it.
I guess so, but on the other hand, beauty is an acquired taste. Beauty is what we're familiar with.
Yes.
And maybe your perception of it that this isn't beautiful is that you're not used to it.
I don't think it's not beautiful. I think it's a little bit scary. I mean, because it looks like a skin, and it looks like if there are veins in it, and some...
I kind of wanted it to look like an incredibly delicate, sensitive, and almost embryonic thing. Yeah. And to look like protoplasm, but to look like this incredibly sort of like desirable addition to your body. Like you would add this level of sort of just raw intelligence to yourself, and that it would have this very nubile look to it.
Nubile? What does that word means? I don't know.
Kind of like
nubile.
Kind of like almost fetal, like that it would have a kind of sensitive and tender, almost. There's a word wabi-sabi that's from the Japanese tea aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's from the tea ceremony, and wabi-sabi kind of is the beauty in things imperfect. And the beauty of things just beginning and just ending. Things that aren't just in their, in the zenith,
glorious state, but
things that are more, just the first germinating of a plant when
that you feel the power, but it's not completely.
It's
there.
all potential.
It's all potential.
And
or it has been, and then it's afterwards.
Yeah, it's sort of the poetry or the tenderness of that.
Has this been produced already? You have made it yourself.
Yeah,
of course,
well, there's one. There are actually two of them. One of them's in the permanent collection at the National Design Museum in New York, which used to be called the Cooper Hewitt. Yeah. And in a velvet lined drawer. Yeah. And then there's one at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. Okay. And the one at the Cooper Hewitt is cast in polyurethane resin. Yeah. And the one in San Francisco is cast out of silicone resin. So we were continuing to develop them. I mean,
what I find so attractive to your work is, and if we look further, if you go to this lamp with all the branches, that in one way it's very, you work with very high-tech things. This is the virtual reality thing. Like that one, yes. Yeah, maybe that one. Yes. There's all benches, and it's a lamp, and it looks like, how do you call them? Webs, from spiders. Yeah, cocoon webs. So that's
web.
So tell something about that. How come up?
Well, these are. I didn't really have much of a kind of philosophy about doing these. I just really have always loved nature and have always admired the forms that I find in nature. So I dragged all these branches out of the woods and started lashing them together with wire, and kind of creating almost these tents around, sort of tenting areas to make lampshades.
Yeah.
And it sort of was a like sculptural technique. It had nothing to do really with. I mean, they're certainly not like highly functional things.
No, you don't know.
Well, I mean, it's not a task lamp.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the itty bitty book light. It's not a flashlight.
What kind of material is that in the white?
It's fiberglass
Oh,
resin.
it is. Okay.
It's actually fiberglass matting, which I glued in place, and then I came over and.
And that's how the branches also stay in place.
The branches are held together with steel wire.
Ah, okay.
So I kind of made this armature out of branches, and then kind of tented part of it to make an area for the light.
Uh-huh.
And this one, which is called Two Big Trees, has, I just set up some formal rules for myself, like I didn't want to have any horizontal lines,
no.
And the only two vertical lines are the two trees
on
either side, and so all of the branches are lashed in a kind of diagonal arrangement. So, I mean, just a couple of formal rules that were sort of more like flower arranging than, anything else.
Then it has to be. No, it shouldn't have been taken in production. Things that have been taken in production. Can you show us one of those things?
This has been in production.
Yeah, lamps.
This is called a squeeze lamp, and
maybe
these
yeah.
We produced these.
It's the condom
keeper.
Condom
we call it
keeper.
safe.
Safe, you call it.
Safe, because they keep the condoms, and the condoms keep you safe.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And we produced these.
Yeah. From cans.
This was in production.
Is you made for Alessi?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's always a big honor, isn't it? When you're asked to design something for a great brand.
It's great, especially a company like Alessi, which does so many interesting, beautiful, profound things, and they do so much to explain their philosophy of how they approach things, and they publish all these books about what they do, and they're pretty phenomenal.
Lisa Kroon, if you have to describe your philosophy of your designing, what would it be? Because 10 years ago you were very occupied with the environmental issues. How would you describe it now?
Well, I think it's, first of all, like all the practical issues have to be covered, and without those, you've got nothing. So,
what do you mean with that?
Practical issues like whatever you design has got to be manufacturable, efficiently within parameters of what's
so to speak, the ground rules of
how things are done. Yeah, I mean, so that it's not too exotic. And I believe that the object has to be a belonging.
Yeah.
Like something that's
you have to hold it
eligible for like that you can bestow emotion on it, that it inspires, that it's endearing, that things should have, charm, and that they should be worthwhile, because then you'll keep them, and then you'll appreciate them, and you'll cherish them, instead of wanting to get rid of them and replace them and like throw them in the dumpster and have them add to landfill.
Not many things are made like that, so there's a lot of ugliness around you then, isn't there?
But that's all missed opportunities. It's not like anybody decided to make it ugly. It's like that's just how it happened, because nobody decided to make it not ugly.
And they haven't thought about it or something.
It fell between the cracks.
Yeah.
I don't think that when things I don't think when things are ugly, it's anybody's fault.
First is then the practicalities. So you have to
make sure that it works. It's safe. It's comfortable. Yeah. It's environmentally responsible. It's manufacturable. It's affordable. It's not going to offend anybody. So all of that has to be clear.
So it has to be political correct, or what?
However you define that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I think it should be a righteous thing.
But if you look at, so you said the product has to be environmental friendly, to say it like that. But the whole thing of doing a kind of mass production, that whole concept of making things that people have to buy, and buy it more and buy it nicer, because in every time new things. How do you relate to that?
Well, I think that all of our desire to consume can be satisfied by, you can consume an idea, you can consume.
Yeah, sorry, I have to close this a little bit.
First of all, that. Second of all, you can create something new or novel out of a recuperated or reused material.
Yeah.
So the newness can come from the idea, but the material, while the material itself is not a virgin material.
No.
So, can you repeat the question?
Well, the question is, if you as a designer wants to get your product mass produced as much as possible, that as much as possible can buy it, people can buy it, isn't that a little bit contrary on the fact that you want to be as environmental?
I don't necessarily think so,
possible?
because if we all design things that are worthwhile, that are worthy of being kept and cherished and passed along, then we're not contributing to the waste of the world. We're
No.
But
the point is more actually that, but maybe I'm just
are you asking me if I'm if the category of mass production is inherently contradictory with the idea of conserving energy? And
Yes.
space on Earth?
Yeah, that's actually what I'm asking you. Yes. What's your command on that?
Well, the fact is that we have 6 billion people on Earth, and some things are cheaper and easier to mass produce, and we all need them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's necessarily a harm to the environment to mass produce things. I think it's a potential harm to the environment to mass produce things that don't have lasting value, things that are planned to be obsolete within the foreseeable future. I think that's harmful to the environment.
Yeah. But that sounds
I don't think mass
moment,
production per se is a problem.
But it's very popular at this moment to mass produce things that have no, even houses are built for only 50 years. There are designers who say my house is not built.
We have a very myopic society. I mean, we manufacture containers to dispose of nuclear waste that have 100-year lifespan, when what they contain has like 10 million year half-life, and that is not good design.
No, right, you can say that.
But mass production, I don't think per se has any negative impact on the environment, because there are plenty of things which are mass produced and don't have a negative impact on the environment. I mean, look at like the egg carton.
The what?
The egg carton.
Yeah, for eggs.
It's like a paper pulp product. The paper pulp comes from somewhere else. It's a recycled material to begin with, I believe. It carries the eggs, it protects the eggs, and then you could recycle it either directly or send it to the recycling, and it goes back and becomes another egg carton, or it becomes something else, or it becomes some other form of
and that's good.
Recycled product.
Yeah, and that's good, you mean?
Yeah,
sure.
But that's a mass-produced thing.
Yeah.
And I don't...
Okay, but I was just wondering, because I remember that 10 years ago you were so occupied with the environmental issue.
Well,
and I don't say you're not anymore. I'm not saying that, but I'm just thinking of as a general critic towards industrial designers, that they come up with new products all the time, and again and again and again, and they all want to have them mass produced, because that's the status is coming from that as well. That's a little bit what I asked, not to...
Well, I think that I haven't really made mass production a big goal. Like,
No.
I think that if I design a stage set to be used, for a month,
Yeah.
or design an exhibition to be up for 2 months, there's no question about mass production involved. It's a completely different enterprise.
That's what you do too, eh? You also design exhibitions for children. Maybe we can have a look at. There's a video of. You made very nice things, and you also have made something for choreography. Can you say it like that? Choreography.
Set design.
Set
I mean, it was
design.
like the backdrop for dance pieces.
So actually, that's something new in designing, isn't it? For you, it was a new.
Yeah, I mean,
branch,
somehow
or-
I've started to do environments without even really sort of consciously choosing to. I think the transition was when I bought my own house, and
In Los Angeles?
Yeah, and my house was a real dump when I bought it, and there was like the stakes were so low in renovating it, like that. Anything I did was going to be an improvement on what was already there. So, and because I didn't have any client and it was only my money that I was spending, it was only me that was going to live there. I kind of felt like, well, I can do whatever I want, and it was very empowering because I made my mistakes and I solved my mistakes and I redid it and I learned on that experience, and that was my first chance to really design an environment, and I've just sort of really been interested in that since then.
How's living in New York? In Los Angeles, actually. Do you like it?
It's Los Angeles is an acquired taste. It is
what?
It's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
It's a kind of new age confabulation of, this beautiful town with a beautiful climate.
Yeah. Is it a beautiful town?
Well, it's a beautiful climate.
Okay.
And it's the fauna and the flora are beautiful.
Yeah.
The natural setting is amazing. Mm-hmm. And, a place where you can get easily to the ocean, the mountains, and the desert. Yeah. Where there are, the land is incredibly rich with hills and valleys, and, so many of the places that you can go in LA have a beautiful view. Mm-hmm. That, I think... in terms of my connection with nature, it's an incredible place to live, and I really love it. On the other hand, we all drive, and we all have this completely weird fetish life with, our cell phones and our cars.
There's hardly any public domain or something, I got the feeling.
Well, there's very, circumscribed places to be, a public pedestrian, and otherwise you're pretty much in your car.
If you compare it with Amsterdam, I mean, you haven't been here a lot, but you have been in Amsterdam before.
It's like the anti-Amsterdam.
It is the anti-Amsterdam, isn't it?
Yeah, because first of all, it's dry. It's a desert.
But people how are the people in Los Angeles?
How are they?
Yeah?
Well, there's a big film industry, and so there are a lot of people that are involved that are on the camera and that are behind the camera. Yeah. And so the whole of LA is a little bit feeling like backstage. Like you constantly feel like you're on a in a studio. Yeah. And so many of the things, the views, the places, the locations in Los Angeles have been on countless movies or TV shows.
You feel
and so
like
a lot of
walking
places you've been,
set.
you sort of have this vague feeling of familiarity, and it's very surreal. Notwithstanding the feeling of like always seeing stars, so-called stars, and being not quite sure. And, for me, since I'm so sort of oblivious to a lot of like popular culture, a lot of time I'll see somebody who's like a big deal, and I'll think like, was that person in my dream last night, or did I see them in a movie?
Or was I next to him? Right.
Yeah, and so it's very surreal because I'm so focused in whatever my own internal dialogue is. I'm not really stargazing or consciously very aware of who I'm seeing.
You get used to it, of course, as well.
And LA has another level of it, which is like surf culture, which is to me, very intriguing.
Do you do that, surfing? Yeah?
A little bit.
Okay. And that's also a little bit alternative circuit, huh? People taking drugs and so on, and then
I don't know if surfers take it. I
don't
know. I think surfers. I mean, if you're really surfing, you probably aren't high.
No,
because it's. I mean, at least at the level that I'm surfing, which is like pretty novice. I'm paying attention as much as I can because the ocean is pretty powerful, and it can if you don't, if you aren't on top of the game, man, you go through the wash cycle and you're, crying for mercy.
Right.
A lot of days, even on a small day, you can like be caught on the inside or, just incredibly, but it's exhilarating, and there's nothing like the power of the ocean. Well, absolutely nothing. There's nothing like harnessing that for like a few seconds and riding it and even dancing with it. It's just the best.
We have to almost end with the show already. It's unbelievable. But what I would like to show the people at home is that some of your designs came in very famous films. Indecent Proposals. You did a film for Nicholas Roeg. the director of Don't Look Now, and you have it on a tape, so we will tape it. And in the video clip of the Backstreet Boys, there are lamps of your from your design. Starship Troopers. Which other ones?
There's a couple of commercials, like a Lotus Notes commercial. What else?
Well, it all says, huh? Most of them says.
Then there's a little bit of footage from a talk show called Interior Motives.
Yeah, that's the other talk show you were
I have
in.
a couple of other things to add if, I can send you from the States if this isn't...
Okay, no, it's broadcasted on today, so
okay.
you won't see.
Okay,
then
time.
For the end, and then we will show those images or those pieces of the films at the end. But I would like to ask you a poem. I always ask my guests a poem. I ask you incredibly late, but I ask you if you know one by heart, out of your head. And then you said, yes, I know one. And it's more like a New Age thing. We didn't actually talk at all about New Age and reincarnation and things like that. And astrology, you have something with that?
Well, not any more than anybody else in Los Angeles or California for that matter.
Well, that's a lot then.
I mean, in California we think about healing and past lives, and we think about energy. We talk about energy. Yeah. In New York you have a drink. In California you have a stretch or a yoga class or something.
Yeah, all right.
But
we'll do a poem.
I want to.
That's your camera.
There's one poem that I know that I really like. It's by Rumi, and he's a Sufi mystic from the 12th century, and his poems are more like aphorisms. Mm-hmm. And it goes like this: out beyond notions of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that tall grass, even words like each other don't make any sense.
That's it.
Wow, that was so fast.
Yeah, but it's very
that okay?
good. No, we're still on now. I'm going to make an end to it. You thought it's already done. Lisa Kroon, thank you very much for being my guest in this in my talk show. I will say goodbye to the viewers, and I hope to see you again. Thank you very much.
To be here.
Oké. Dames en heren, dit was Agora. Als het goed is kijken we nu nog even naar een paar beelden van de producten van Lisa Kroon. De Amerikaanse ontwerpster. En volgende week weer een andere gast. Ik zie u graag. Tot dan.